Hey, what's up guys, it's ElasticSpyder here, and in today's video we are looking at the Tier 9 American light cruiser, the USS Seattle. Now this ship is pretty new. It came out, I believe, in update 0.7.6, I want to say. 7.6 sounds about right. Maybe it was a patch after, I don't really remember, but they've been in the game not for too long. So, I played the Cleveland. Everyone knows how to play the Cleveland, Separate Islands, that sort of thing, and it was a bit of a struggle in my opinion at Tier 8. I took a lot of damage in the Cleveland, and then I felt like I was kind of useless without a heal, so that was a little bit of a struggle in my opinion, but the Seattle, I can tell you, gets a little bit better. So, before we get too into the replay, let's go over my build. So, for my upgrades, or modules, or whatever you want to call them. Main armaments mod 1, then, if you have it, radar modification, otherwise damage control, or defensive fire, if you have it. AA range. Then I go with propulsion, concealment, and main battery modification 3. And you could, honestly, if you want to, you could use something like AA. But with the Seattle, it's not too good. But so we see a Z-52 here. He's spotted. I'm gonna hold my shot for a little bit. So real quick, priority target, then adrenaline rush, then superintendent, concealment expert. Then I've got 3 tier 3s, so concealment expert being one of them, and then advanced firing training, and then of course IFHE, so I could do a lot of good damage with my HE shells to other cruisers and some battleships. Honestly, one thing that I would say is, and then obviously you can do like preventative maintenance at the end. But one thing I will say though is, notice my AA detectability is 8.6. 6.9, excuse me, and my long range AA is 8.6. So something I might change, and I might do the same thing on the Worcester, is I might take off AFT and switch to manual AA. That's especially on the Worcester, because the Worcester has great long range AA DPS, and you know, using manual AA instead of AFT, you don't have to get spotted, or you don't get spotted when you open up using your AA. So that's one good reason why you would want to switch that, and that's where most of your DPS comes from. You know, especially when you're doing defensive fire. Those 76mm help a lot, but regardless. So here, I didn't expect to get a Citadel on the St. Louis, or St. Louis, but I guess you can Citadel some cruisers at that range. Now, I honestly think I might have just gone through. I might have not actually hit the space arm. I might have gone behind it, would be my guess. But here's the thing. Why should I even try for Citadels when I can just do 4,000, 5,000 damage with my IFHE? And that's the thing with these light cruisers is, interestingly enough, they counter heavy cruisers kind of easily in some situations. If a light cruiser can kind of just sit behind an island, or you know, get in a good kiting position, and the heavy cruisers just bow on, well, he's not going to be able to do much, because most of the heavy cruisers, they've got either 30 mil, like 27 mil, 30 mil, 32 millimeters, or on some occasions, like the Moskva has a 50 millimeter deck, but most ships usually have either 30 or 32, and with IFHE, you are able to pen 132 millimeter, or 132, oh my god, 32 millimeter plates, which is very, very nice. And so that means you can pen a lot of battleship bows at this tier, and a lot of cruisers. And so when you're fighting against a heavy cruiser like the St. Louis, or St. Louis, well, you just do a mega damage to him. Now things like battleships, because they've got really good decks, you pretty much are forced to hit right on their superstructure. That's pretty much the only thing you can pen, especially German battleships. And then obviously you've got fires to help you out there too. So that would be my biggest thing, would be the AA. And again, if you aren't too big on the whole AA aspect. I'm more so, I like speccing the AA more often than not, just because I do play with a decent amount of carrier players, and then also I just love shooting down planes for whatever reason. But either way, so the general idea, and I'll kind of try and get more into this, and the way that I play it is light cruisers, especially American light cruisers, are supposed to utilize island cover and just cover in general, whether it be smoke or what have you. And you know, for British cruisers, light cruisers, that's fine because you know they can just sit at either in their smoke or, you know, like I said, behind an island. But with American light cruisers, you're very, very dependent on your positioning, and that's even true for heavy cruisers as well. So if you like to be put in somewhat aggressive positions, I think the Seattle and light cruisers will benefit you quite well. Otherwise, you're very dependent on other people's smoke, and that can be kind of frustrating, especially when you get into matches where maybe there's only 1 or 2 battleships and there's a lot of destroyers, and well, you can counter destroyers quite well with your hydro and radar combination. You know, actually hitting them a lot of times is the next biggest difficulty, and if a destroyer is running away at 8.5, 9 kilometers, you're not going to be landing full salvos on him unless he's just, you know, going straight at you, or straight parallel to you. So that's one thing, of course, you have to be careful of. Now, the other thing is survivability. Now, whenever I seem to shoot at a Seattle, it's usually all over pens, but of course, like all good players, every time I get shot in the Seattle, I just get wrecked by it. So survivability is quite poor. The armor is decent though. It is a light cruiser, so you can't be taking sustained fire from pretty much anything except for maybe destroyers, and even other light cruisers is debatable. But the armor, it works, but don't rely on it. That's not the purpose of a light cruiser, is to get shot at. The purpose of a light cruiser is to support your friendlies, and then also you know, support the caps as well. So here I was thinking about going in, but you know, right there. But then I saw this Republic going. I said, no, forget about that. Not gonna happen, buddy. So I'm gonna start farming Republic, and then I know this Republic, he's got basically 32mm plating all around his ship, so I'm just gonna get awesome pens. Don't even need to switch to AP. So I'm gonna do that, and that's just pure game knowledge. So again here, just shooting HE, and then the Z pops up, so I'm gonna switch to him in a second. I want to get another fire rolling on this Republic, but you can see the, oh my gosh, the pure IFHE spam is real. 5,000 damage. Oh my god. Now if I didn't have IFHE, well, this would be very, very painful because I'd get a lot more brackets. And then this Z52, now that I got a fire, I can switch to him, put a nice salvo down range where I kill him in one shot with 4k damage because all my shells penned. And that's kind of the situation I was talking about a couple minutes ago, where if a destroyer is just, you know, sailing, like I was, I think, what, 8 kilometers from me, and you know, he's sailing just completely parallel to me, it's so easy to hit shells, and it's so easy to get a lot of pens. So but yeah, well, I was kind of lost my train of thought, but yeah, so light cruisers, your job is not to get shot at, right? And that's kind of what you've seen here. You know, look at how much HP I've traded. I've shot 90,000. I've dished out 90,000 points of damage, 92 now, and I've only taken 7, maybe 8, and I still haven't even used my heal. And with the Seattle in specific, you're very more reliant on your positioning, because your armor just will not stand up. And the other thing too is that The Seattle is particularly difficult for a couple reasons. Is one, it's got, I don't want to say it's not so stealthy, because it really is stealthy. 9.4 kilometer concealment is really good, and you can radar as soon as you get spotted, which is very, very nice. But that is a problem. The other problem is turret angles. Turret angles on the Seattle are god awful. Both, you know, trying to shoot forward and shooting back, but shooting back is even worse. Let's see if I could pull it up here real quick without doing too much. So to get 4 turrets off, you have to be at a 40-degree angle, which doesn't sound too bad, but it's pretty bad. And that's going front. If you want to get 4 turrets off, you have to be at 130 degrees relative to the bow of your ship. So subtract, so that you have to be at a 50-degree angle from the stern. So if there's guys like this, you have to be angled at about 50 degrees, which is about there, to get all 4 turrets off. And that is god awful, I'll tell you. And you really want to be using all 4 turrets. So this means that, well, you will have to be sitting more broadside, and that means your armor is not working as effectively as possible. Obviously, you want your armor to be kind of like this, and so people think they can shoot, you know, either here or here, and then you turn in, or you know, you maneuver somehow, and then you basically just wreck them. And here, I kind of missed a key point. The AP is good too. You saw the 7K and then a 5K, and then as soon as he turns out, HE. But I want to highlight that is the biggest problem, both in my opinion and I think factually too, with the Seattle. Its turret angles are just so awful that it's painful to do anything, basically to do any type of shooting in open water with this ship. However, once you get behind an island, and pretty much their whole team is behind an island, except for the St. Louis and St. Louis, whatever, and the Zhao, you can really start to farm. And you know, what is St. Louis gonna do? He's gonna shoot me in my bow, take some HE damage, and I'm gonna bound. I mean, or he can shoot AP, but even if he shoots HE, you know, he'll pen a few shells here and there. I can heal up. I can go dark pretty much anytime I want. And if I go dark and I'm still spotted, well, I can pop my radar and see if there's a gearing or a destroyer in general there. So right now we're at 160,000, and oh boy, that is not what I wanted to see. I did not want to see a Zhao on my broadside, so I'm going to have to start turning, and thankfully for this gearing, he helps me out and then hooks me up with a very, very nice smoke, although I hope he realizes that I'm turning back a little bit, because that Zhao did spank me pretty hard. Now let's see, I can't pull it up, but so I guess my biggest thing with the Seattle is, like I said, the turret angles. If the turret angles were better, especially when kiting away, because not every map has nice islands to hide behind. And let's watch this reverse torpedo beat. Nice and easy, no problem, no problem. If the Seattle had better turret angles when running away, I think this ship would be very, very good. And not saying it's not good right now, but I think it'd be much better and a lot more bearable to play at times, especially with maps that are very more open and larger maps too. This is because if you don't have islands to hide behind and shoot behind, well, you know, how are you going to get damage? Well, you have to kite people. That is a very popular way, especially if you're playing up tiered, or if you're up tiered. So if you're a tier 8 and you're playing in tier 10s, and let's say you're a cruiser, the best way to get damage is most of the time shoot HE and hope for fires, and then also just kite away, because what kiting does is it provides you with a positional advantage over your opponent, so that you can always be on the run, and you never really have to turn broadside unless you're like on the map border, but that doesn't happen too often. So that is the advantage of kiting, and since the Seattle has to expose, you know, has to expose more broadside when trying to open up from when it's kiting away. It has to open up more than necessary. That is a big problem for the ship. But you make the most of it. You know, I wasn't divisioned up, and I try not to with videos, but you know, every occasion is different. So, but I'm just gonna be farming this Moskva here. He already DCP'd. I'm not getting very good RNG with my fires. I'm not even hitting that many shells either. That is, I guess, a little bit of a downside, not having a spotter plane, so I can like quickly go over this, you know, look over this island a little bit easier. But either way. So the other thing too is when fighting light or heavy cruisers, unless they're shooting HE and you're bow on, it really doesn't matter. They can shoot AP all they want. They're gonna bounce off your bow. So one reason, and I think you guys might be questioning it maybe, is why do I take propulsion mod? I take propulsion mod because while the steering isn't great, I think it's just under 7 seconds with my build. Actually, it should be stock. So let me actually check right now. 11.3 seconds, and I think it actually does get down. And, oh no, disaster! Oh, I can't even get the kill. Rip. Stock is 11.3 seconds. But wait a second. I think I'm forgetting something. No, that's with the B hull. 11.3 seconds just seems too slow. I want to say it's around 9. But maybe I don't think I'm running. No, there's no way I'm running steering gears. But either way, I would recommend propulsion, because if you are going to be sitting behind islands, which you are doing a lot, or even if you're not sitting behind islands, maybe you're sitting in smoke, or maybe you're just kiting at maybe a quarter speed, getting up to speed is very, very helpful. And here I should have popped my radar a little bit sooner, should have loaded AP sooner. I expected this guy just to bow in here, but I didn't look at the minimap and see that he was actually turning out. So first misplay here, I would have well, maybe one-shotted that guy and not bounced. And the other problem is, well, oh, I got lucky there, but now I have to struggle to get citadels, and well, with my good reload, 4 citadels, not bad. And, oh my gosh, I just barely made it. 7 citadels later, and I've got a kill secured and a high caliber as well. And this rune is just going to run away to end the replay. So a bit of a misplay there at the end. Should have had AP loaded and paid attention to the minimap. And remember, the minimap is always your friend. But I ended up surviving. My armor didn't hold up well enough, but I did get my heal off, which is still good. So let's take a look at the post-battle results. We ended up getting 205,000 damage with 358 shell hits, 4 ships killed, high caliber, 8 citadels, 7 of which came on that Moskva at the end. And assisted base capture, 19,000 XP and nearly 700,000 credits. Base XP wise, 2727. Rolls off the tongue very, very nicely. So a very nice game there. And it's not like we did a lot of damage to destroyers necessarily. I mean, let's see. We did 7k to that Z52. And that was pretty much it. I mean, what other destroyers did they have? I don't think we shot at the gearing at all. I mean, maybe we shot a couple. I don't recall shooting at the gearing. But it was, I mean, we did a third of an HP to the Z52. Everything else was just a Magi 42k, Moskva 61k, Republic 50k. So it's a lot more battleship cruiser farm, and you kind of notice that a lot of the time I was actually shooting HE for the most part at heavy cruisers, and I was countering them pretty heavily. Um, almost there, almost close to a wither. But again, 120,000 from HE damage alone. That would have been a good game alone, not even accounting for the fires. But this number may be a little high. There at the end, maybe I could have. Again, if the Seattle had a better gun angles, maybe 35 degrees when pointing forward, I could have maybe had that higher, and I wouldn't have tanked, or I would have tanked that last salvo from the Moscow. And maybe if I do run the steering gears, I might have also tanked that salvo. So it's up to you. In every situation, there's going to be downsides. If you're going to be doing a lot of island hopping, which I probably think the light cruisers would be doing more of, then I would say definitely propulsion is more effective. But other than that, steering gears, if you're going to do a little bit more open water kiting, that might be more beneficial. But I do think for the Seattle, I think propulsion is the way to go. The Worcester, that might be a completely different story. But Seattle, I would recommend propulsion at the end of the day. Alright guys, so I hope you have a wonderful day. I hope you enjoyed this replay. I hope it was informative. If you did think it was, then leave a like. And today is Friday, so I'm probably going to be streaming some, since, well, I do get a day off work every once in a while. So, but we are also going to be on this Stuntman's podcast, so I'll leave a link to his podcast in the video description, so you guys can go check that out at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm going to be on there. I believe Puddin will be, and then a few other people. So we're going to talk about some interesting stuff there. So go check that out. Anyways, guys, have a wonderful day. I'll see you guys later.